message that I agreed with, if I had the choice like she does. I mean, like everybody has that luxury. But if I had a choice to pick and choose whatever movie I wanted to do, I would choose one that actually said something that I felt needed to be said. And so whether it's about race or homophobia or politics or whatever. So I'm no different than she is, I think. So I think it's normal for someone to actually talk and do things about that they actually, know. I mean, I've said before, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about NASCAR. I don't know shit about NASCAR. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the KKK and what they're up to. What am I going to talk about on my show besides things I know? I am someone who's gay, biracial, and non-religious, and very, very liberal. So those are the things I discuss. You know what I mean? So would you turn down a role if it were not gay, political, or racially motivated? Well, no. If I were an actual actor, I wouldn't turn down a role like that. No. But I'm saying she's not someone you consider. When I think of Oprah Winfrey, I consider her to be an actress, but I don't consider that to be her main gig. You know what I mean? So because her main gig is as a commentator and as a talk show host and a facilitator, that's what she does. And that's what she's about, and spirituality and those kinds of things. That's what she's about. So if she had started out as an actress and that was how she made her living, fine. But she's never had to depend upon acting as a career. She's always done it as something because she chose to, because there was a message she wanted to say. That's what I'm trying to say. So, if I made my living as an actor, of course I would do whatever role came to me if it's something I liked and I thought it was challenging or whatever, of course. I think that's what most actors want, is something challenging, not something that's just going to be easy for them to do. That's just playing themselves or whatever. And a lot of people get, cast into that. But, I've talked about on my show before too, that I wanted to be an actor when I was a teenager, I should say, and didn't do it because I knew finding a place for me. Well, first of all, you never know what's going to happen. There are plenty of actors and actresses out there that are not your traditional leading man, leading woman, that actually may look different or be different and that still have great careers. And especially someone who's gay and biracial, like Wentworth Miller, for example, who came out recently. And when he was invited to come to some sort of workshop or discussion about acting or something in Russia, he turned it down because he said, as a gay man, I must decline. And so he came out during that actual message to Putin saying that as a gay man, I must decline, saying that as a gay man, fuck you, basically. But for someone like him, for example, or I'm trying to think, Halle Berry is not such a difficult one because she looks more African-American than she does white. But someone who really doesn't really fit the typical mold visually and is gay, I think because of the race and is gay, I think have a really hard time in Hollywood. But what I was going to say is that's the reason I never did it, was because I knew I was going to have first of all, it's very hard anyway to succeed in that career. And secondly, it is exceptionally hard to succeed in that career if you are not a Caucasian only. And thirdly, it's really, really hard to succeed in that career if you are gay. So if you are not only a racial minority, but also gay in Hollywood, it's almost impossible to break through that wall. It's not impossible, but it's very, very, very difficult. And so I think that's why I never did it, because I knew it was going to be a very long, arduous road. And I didn't want to struggle that long, Did you know that Oprah was picked for her role in the... I'm not sure. I heard, but the story I heard about that was that she actually was going to audition for it because she'd asked Steven Spielberg to audition for the role. And when she did audition for it, he said thank you and never called her back or anything. So maybe they were considering Tina Turner initially and then decided to do her. But whatever. I know it was a while before she got the phone call back. But I know that she wasn't, his original thing. Actually, I think he told her no several times because she was a talk show host and no one would see her in the role as Sophia. It'd be very difficult to see her there or whatever. So it's true that he did not want her for the role because he couldn't see people seeing her as something other than quote unquote Oprah Winfrey, which I can understand, being the big entity that she was and still is. I get that. That's fair, I think. So anyway, All right, so gonna take another quick break and come back and talk a little bit more. Wish I could say call in, but unfortunately, as I said, I can't have you call in tonight because of the obvious fucking issues. So going to just have to deal with that. I'll be right back after this. All right, so we're back with the final few minutes of the show. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight on the show. I just real quick wanted to read you a quote from an actor, discuss it real quick, who was talking about why a lot of gay actors remain in the closet. He says, I have a lot of gay friends who don't come out. If you are a romantic lead, there is a perception, I don't know if it is true or not, that you will no longer be cast as straight people. Even when casting gay roles, there is a tendency to cast straight people, so they are lauded for their transformation. It's ridiculous. The notion that a gay actor can't seem like they are in love with a woman sacrifice their careers if that's what they think it would be to make a political statement. But my friends who have done that feel immensely relieved and walk taller in their shoes. I would never judge anyone, says actor Jason Isaacs, who was Malfoy in Harry Potter films. Anyway, so I certainly agree that it is ridiculous, and we still have this double standard today about actors, gay actors playing heterosexual roles. And it is exactly, David. It's called acting after all. I mean, that's the whole that's what's so ridiculous about it. It doesn't matter what anybody is in their real life. If you're not someone who's famous and has done something like you've murdered someone or something and people look at you that way, then you, as an actor, if you're able to transform yourself from being one thing to the other, you know, if you're able to transform yourself from acting quote unquote gay, whatever that means, to acting quote unquote straight, and convincingly make it look as if you're in love with someone, which we've seen done a million times by people, so be it. That's why you're an actor, to take on challenging roles, as we were just discussing a minute ago. And yeah, exactly. Just like when straight guys do gay roles, exactly. But there's a double standard. It's not okay for some reason for gay guys to do straight roles, but it's fine for straight guys to do gay roles. When the transformation is equally as difficult or not difficult, depending on how you look at it, for each of them. I know that, look, and this is true, this is to some degree. Look, if you're talking about a gay man who is just a regular guy who acts like a normal guy, whatever, and I say that meaning doesn't have a lot of effeminate mannerisms, whatever, and even if he does and he can transform himself to be, quote unquote, you know, more masculine acting or whatever as they call it, and to convincingly be heterosexual, even if it's the biggest queen in the world. I don't know who we could name somebody, but I can't think of anybody. The biggest, fayest gay person you can think of in his real life, if he can all of a sudden be butch and be some leading man guy in some role, fine. If he can convince you that he's really like that in the role, fine. Or even if he's not like that. Whatever the case is, it's stupid. So I get really tired of seeing this kind of double standard in Hollywood, in America, period, that because you're gay, you can't do something, which pisses me off and makes me want to fucking shoot them in the head. But anyway, it's just me. I get really tired of people ever telling me I can't do something just because, you know, I am a certain way, you know, and that's one thing about me my entire life. I've always been like that. Like if somebody says you can't do something, I've always proven them wrong. People say I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. All my life people have said it because it was going to be difficult. The only thing I didn't do was act, and that's because I knew they were right about that one. But everything else in my life, if someone said, you know, it's too difficult to do it, I did it anyway. And even acting, I started acting. I went to an acting conservatory here in Dallas, actually after SMU. And I was in the acting program at SMU and stepped out of it because I was too afraid to be poor. And ended up in business school. But I was going to do that. And like I said, the reason I didn't was because I was too afraid to do it. And I should have done it. And that's the one regret I've always said to people before in my life. The one regret I have is I never tried that. Even if I didn't get success and never would have went anywhere, I would have at least known that I had tried, and I could see what I was made of if I had tried, how far I could have gotten. Maybe I would have gone from acting into producing or directing or into stand-up comedy. I don't know I certainly wouldn't have been doing that, but you know what my point is, you never know what direction a path is going to lead you. So that's why you should always take it no matter what, in my opinion, because you never fucking know where it's going to lead. So that's why I think everybody should always follow their heart, no matter what people tell you, always. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for listening to the show tonight. I do appreciate you hanging out with me as we talked about gay stuff tonight. I'll be back probably Tuesday for a Brain Purge show, and I hope to see you guys there. Good night. Love you all. Good night.
You're listening to Off Limits. Liberal, irreverent, and really, really gay.